The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elisha Herbal.
Hey, go thank Chris Schmidt, the Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith. I did not let him go anywhere. Herbal is back at our KFOR studios as it is an typical March Madness Day show with state tournament action. Coach and Elijah. We'll take a breath. We'll talk a little sports for an hour. Step away and then get ready for Southeast and Gretna tonight on KFOR. So excited about that.
And what's wrong with sitting court?
No,
this is awesome. Waiting for the next game.
No, doors will open. I think Dr. Brandon Seifert, Nebraska Orthopedic Center, he may have to MacGyver in here for the old 540 Jock Talk segment to talk about Mr. Miyagi and LeBron getting healed up for the Lakers.
And he just did a knee replacement on my father-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He goes to the same church we do, and
good.
Good man. Really good man.
Mike Babcock is staring us down. We're talking Lakers, not Warriors. We'll get to more basketball. Babber's with us here in about 15 minutes. Elijah, how are you doing? You're locked in. Your tummy full. You ready for round 2 and 3 and 4 coming up a little bit later today?
I couldn't be more excited. I mean, it's something Andy said last night whenever we talked to him. Like, March Madness is here from high school to college, and like, soak it in. It's one of the best months of the year whenever you get all this action. I know if conference tournaments starting this weekend, Nebraska's going to be in action tonight. The Nebraska State high school tournament's in action right now, and then real March Madness, the NCAA tournament gets going here in about a week. Like, what is there not to love about this time of year? I am overjoyed that we finally reached March and we've gotten past the doldrums of February in terms of sporting news. So we've made it. I'm just looking forward to all the action that's going to be coming here over the next couple weeks.
We have a lot to get into. Just to recap, if you're joining us here on KFOR, and a lot of our Hail Varsity affiliates are busy, right? Husker baseball just wrapping up a little bit ago, a big-time win in 7 over northern Colorado. Our friends out in Kearney and Hastings and Grand Island are covering their region teams. Also, News Talk 900 Columbus covering their region teams. So we are hunkered down. Nebraska basketball tonight is going to be extremely difficult. There's a lot of uneasiness with Nebraska basketball fans just because Minnesota's playing better. And you and I talked about it yesterday, Elijah. I want to get Coach Smith's take on this real quick. Fred seemed, I don't want to say testy, but I think Fred knows that this is a tough matchup. We survived them, and that's the word I'll use, twice, and a lot of other teams survived them. 9 wins is not representative of the Jekyll or Hyde Minnesota you get. And you got to go play in Chicago tonight, and you're down the difference maker, quite frankly, in Blaise Keita, who helped kind of seal those wins with paint play. He's still out. You could be in trouble tonight. I think there's some good news floating around. If you get the win tonight, I think you're more than likely going to host an NIT spot here sooner rather than later if you don't win the whole bleeping thing anyway.
Yeah, and we either want Tim Miles in here or Jim Boeheim.
Or
should we take him too? No, it is a great time of year, and I'm a little nervous about this one. I heard a different prominent coach say, "I don't believe in the beat them 3 times hard." It's hard, but I disagree with him. I think it's hard to beat teams 3 times. Mm-hmm. I think the losing team always makes more extreme adjustments, and they can have a chance to find that adjustment that works. Where if you've beat them twice, then why do you feel like you need to change a lot? You've been successful twice, and then it's a hard coaching acumen because you probably do need to make adjustments, but you feel confident with what you've done, and it's hard to validate yourself if you say, "Oh, we're going to change and jump a zone and play more zone," when man-to-man was already effective. And But the thing that scares me about Minnesota is their length. Garcia 6'11", Battle 6'7". Their smallest guard 6'3". We're a little smaller now than we were without the injuries, and especially now with Keita out too. We don't have as much depth inside. I think we're playing well. I think we're confident. I think we've really found our niche with our roles and things. But it's still a small margin of error for Nebraska. The guys that are on the floor have to play well. Those few bench guys, Sammy Hoiberg, he has to come in and play, contribute, and so you just excuse me, you never know when you're going to have that one, and right now that one means it's over, and we're hoping for postseason play no matter what happens. But I'm a believer in if you're 500, you got a chance to play in the NIT. But this one's a little, when you're the favorite, it's a little wrecking going into these tournaments.
And when you look at that game tonight, I have a reason for optimism and a reason for concern. The optimism, and let's start there because I'm always an optimistic guy, is that Nebraska, realistically, has been playing very, very good basketball. As you mentioned, Coach Smith, they've already gotten this Minnesota team twice, and they did it both in close fashion. It's not like they got down the stretch and you blew this team out, you got to clear the bench. Like, you had to play them hard, and Nebraska rose up to the adversity of playing this team tight, and they did get 2 wins. I think that's reason for encouragement. At the end of the day, with those first 2 games, your talent went and out-talented their talent, and if you can play up to your potential, then I think you should get the win. Why there is concern, though, is this Minnesota team had a very, very tough stretch at the end of the season, and they rose to that adversity. They were playing some of their best basketball at the end of the year, and if you watch them, they did not look like a team that only had 2 wins in the conference this year at the end of the year. They played Nebraska close. They went and beat a good Rutgers team this year, 75-74, and they finished it with a close loss to Wisconsin, 71-67. And that's been the hallmark of this Minnesota team all year long in the conference slate. They've been playing teams close, and they've just been falling at the end of those games. And after already playing Nebraska close twice, that might be confidence building for Minnesota, saying we almost got this team twice. We're playing better basketball than we were back whenever we played this team for the first 2 times. Let's go in and surprise in the Big Ten tournament. It's hard to beat a team 3 times, and we'll see. But again, Nebraska has done really well in close games this season, especially down the stretch of games. They've done really, really well, with the exception of the past month and a half being that Michigan State game. Can they rise to that adversity? Because this thing's going to be a close game with 5 to 10 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, and the thing you rely on is your defense, and that's the good thing about Nebraska this year is their defense has been really consistent, and that's part of the reason they're winning close games. That's part of the reason they're hanging around with the really good teams and having a chance at the end of some of those, like Purdue, because they can hang in there defensively and consistently get stops and make it difficult for teams to score. But we do have to rebound against this team. We do have to take care of the ball against this team. If we do those things, I think our defense will help us win this game and win. But this is one of those where it's kind of like a district game when you kind of have a tough draw on that first one. Let's just get through this first one, and then maybe we can go after a Maryland, but we got to get through this first one, and then you feel some pressure doing that. But Minnesota's good enough to beat us. They're talented enough to beat us. That's bottom line. So we're going to have to be really consistent of taking care of the ball, defending like we have all year, stay out of foul trouble with some of our key guys, and rebound it.
The line is 6 for those interested. Jeff Smith, the Hall of Fame coach, Chris Schmidt, we're courtside here at PBA, a abbreviated Hail Varsity Radio. Elijah Herbal back at our KFOR studios can join us on the stream, can watch the show, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the Hail Varsity Twitter handle at HVarsity Radios, where you can also watch the show, KFOR Facebook and Twitter, KFOR Sports Facebook, Mike Babcock in 10 minutes. So this is kind of a crazy question, but I've got to ask it, and I think they might be. It's a double-edged sword in a good and a bad way here. I think they could feel some pressure tonight. Are we in? Are we not in for postseason? This team wants to keep playing basketball and finally get to the postseason. I think Sam Griesel's a little ticked off that there's no honorable mention, no accolades, and Sam's not a me guy. But he's played really good basketball this year and not even a sniff, a notice. And he's been one of the reasons things have flipped and they've stayed together and they've won. They've been good in February. He had a great game against Iowa. Can he carry that forward? Can Walker be what he needs to be and stay out of foul trouble without some big options? And who knows with Wilhelm and that plantar fasciitis, right? I mean, that could flare up and be a problem in the paint. So what do you expect from Hoiberg? Do you think Nebraska is feeling any pressure?
I know what Danny Nee would do. He'd go in the locker room and say, we're not even close to being in unless we win at least one more, maybe two. He would tell me, talk to the guys in New York.
He'd say it just like that.
Yep, you're not even close. Let's go. No, but I think Walker Garcia is a huge matchup. Walker's got to stay out of foul trouble. He needs to be on the floor for us. He needs to be a strength inside for us. And he's powerful inside. He's strong, and he's our key, if you ask me. I think Sam Griesel about 6 games ago turned the switch and said, I got to get more aggressive going to the basket. I don't care if you miss some, but I'm going to get to the line more. I'm going to score some of those because I'm 6'7" and long, and you can see his love for Nebraska when he plays. And I think he's going to, as he has really all year, he's going to lay it on the line, get on the floor, push the ball, get Walker the ball and drive to the basket and try to help us offensively a little more than he had earlier in the season. And because we need that. And then, Jamarcus Lawrence has been playing fantastic, and hopefully he can just keep shooting the ball with confidence. And the thing I love about Jamarcus Lawrence, and I said this on the show the other day, he's and Coach Hoiberg mentioned it. He does everything. He plays, he defends, he can handle the ball well. I think he's a really good combo guard. Now he's shooting it with confidence. Good, just really complete player as a freshman that's just seemed to get, and he's not a freshman anymore, but better and better throughout the year. And he to me, he learns from mistakes. He learns from success, and that's a sign of a good player for the future.
I want to ask you, Coach, about the Jimmy Boeheim legacy and rep. I know he played for a lot of championships. I know he won one in kind of a fluke 4-seed year. Where with Carmelo Anthony, who was incredible, but he beat like the unbeatable Kansas team. He did that, and further frustrated Jayhawk fans. Billy Owens, Lawrence Moten. Who else am I missing? Number one, Derek Coleman.
Derek Coleman, yeah.
I mean, Derek Coleman.
Yeah, the orange.
The orange was awesome.
Yeah.
Hakeem Christmas is the guy I remember being the 6'9", just behemoth with that wingspan. And I love the 03 team with McNamara, so I can just rattle off former Syracuse. And I always loved watching Georgetown and Syracuse hammer each other. The only league was the Big East that gave 6 fouls. They'd hammer each other the Sunday before Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
It was always Georgetown, Syracuse, and Boeheim or John Thompson. Big John one of them would get launched, undoubtedly. What's the word on Boeheim in that coaching fraternity? Respected, liked, disliked, or maybe all of the above, depends who you ask.
We're definitely respected, and the coaches respect him because he knew what he wanted to do. He said, I'm going to be a zone guy. I'm going to recruit length, and we're going to stick to it thick or thin. We're going to be different to play because
like option football.
Right, exactly. We're going to play a big zone with length, and we're going to make you shoot it over us a little bit. We're going to get into passing lanes sometime and play it some different ways, but we're going to be in a 2-3 zone, and you're just going to have to beat us in our zone. And then, anybody with that kind of longevity, that success of longevity like he's had, is obviously that's part of the respect too. But I know coaches that have gone to Syracuse to meet with Coach Boeheim about the 2-3 zone and learn more about how he plays it. I know they had him on the Olympic staff because they were going to see zone in the Olympic games, and he made a big difference helping them solve some zones because he plays it so much and he knows what hurts it. So, yeah, a lot of respect. And, he knew how he wanted to play. He was comfortable playing that way, and he was very successful. They made some other good runs in the NCAA tournament, too, besides the year they won it, and they were always a factor, and they were just always hard to play because they were so different.
Well, I remember as a kid, the Ronnie Cycli team that just got nipped by Indiana in the championship game, the smart pull-up jumper in '87.
Yeah.
So he was right there, and watching that moving day that always happened in the Big East, the rising and falling of the Big East, where it was Georgetown and then it was Syracuse, and then it was Georgetown again, and then it was Syracuse, and then UConn was phenomenal with their championship runs, and Jim Calhoun and all those guys, to get them in a room and to see them like scream at each other was quite entertaining.
Yeah,
because they all tolerated one another. Very few, and PJ Carlissimo with Seton Hall. I loved watching his teams before he went to the pros, and So yeah, well, some childhood fun there. And Boeheim's one of those guys where you just like, as a kid, you're like, how many times has that guy been punched in the face? But he recruited incredibly well. I mean, the number picked overall that he got, and guys stick and stay, and Syracuse was great. I mean, this is unfair, but because winning's hard. But Syracuse is one of those programs you're like, that's all they have. They only have one championship.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
as much as they've won, you would think maybe they had a couple more. But they were fun to watch, and like I said,
they had dudes.
They definitely had dudes. Yeah, and you're kind of surprised because a lot of those guys might think, well, if I want to go to the NBA, I don't want to sit in the zone all the time. Where am I going to learn? But it didn't seem to matter to them. They played it and played it well, and those guys were still successful in the NBA. So great job of recruiting, and you're right, that old Big East was fun though. We played UConn in the NCAA tournament they played hard and they were athletic as heck and got us pretty good on that one.
What I used to love about Jim Boeheim, just quickly here before we have to get out, is it felt like once every year or two, someone would get to March, they'd play against Syracuse, and they just look like they forgot how to play offense against that 2-3 zone. Yeah. Just like every once in a while, you just get that one team that put up like 40 points total in a game, and you go, what the hell happened? And it was the 2-3 defense.
And Syracuse scored 51, and they were good.
And you couldn't simulate their zone in practice. You didn't have guys that could simulate that with.
Quick timeout. Hail Varsity continues. Courtside at PBA. Mike Babcock on the way.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known. But what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line. 1-800-QUIT-NOW. 1-800-784-8669. 84 by Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hail Varsity is a must-have for true Husker fans. Get a monthly magazine that'll make checking the mail fun again. Daily analysis, the breaking news, including the inside scoop on recruiting on hailvarsity.com. And every June, that's right, every June, you'll get the Nebraska Football Yearbook, a season preview completely dedicated to Nebraska football. That's as comprehensive as national previews. Remember, get to hailvarsity.com.
If you have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now, and you'll see how easy it is to protect yourself with precious metals. Call 800-900. That's 800-900. 8,000. 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Nebraska doctors are lining up to try and stop an extreme abortion ban that would take away Nebraskans' ability to make decisions about our own bodies, lives, and futures.
If this bill becomes law, it will cause real harm.
This law will ask physicians to discount their training and act in harmful ways.
It shouldn't be a political issue, but a healthcare issue that our patients access to this care.
Tell your state senator to listen to the experts and vote no on LB 626. A message from the ACLU of Nebraska. Learn more at aclunebraska.org.
And now, to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. It's Hail Varsity Courtside Impromptu Edition. Wednesday here at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, the Hall of Fame coaches, Jeff Smith. I think you are smelling that pizza
I think I saw somebody with a piece of that valve. I have to.
You are going to make a run for it. Again, he is here on his own free will as we await Gretna and Southeast tonight. The Hall of Fame writer, historian, author Mike Babcock with us as the warm-up session begins here for Millard North and Elkhorn South. Babbers, how we doing? Are you staying warm? Are you hunkered in? Kind of a gloomy looking day outside. A little football weather with us today.
Yeah. I watched the Husker baseball on TV today, and I've agreed with everything that Coach Smith has said and everything that Coach Herbal has said. So I appreciate you having me on here.
I thought you'd have a press box seat for sure.
I was out to the ballpark yesterday.
Yeah. Let's and Babber's going to be down here this weekend, man. You're going to roll up your sleeves and wear the old York shirt, aren't you?
Yeah, York Dukes, although a bunch of buddies of mine, we always go to the state tournament regardless of whether York's there, but that just makes it a little better.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, let's start with Husker basketball. Your thoughts on tonight, concerns and confidences. We'll get to some football as well, but what do you believe about Nebraska basketball as far as their postseason?
Oh, I wasn't joking when I said that I agree with what you guys have said to this point. I think beating a team 3 times is difficult, and I think that Minnesota is a team that when you throw that into the mix of beating a team 3 times, magnifies the problem. I think you've got to be ready for this game in ways that maybe you wouldn't have been if you'd have split the regular season series with that team. And because of what's on the line as well, you can say focus on the game, don't look beyond this one game, but it's difficult to do because you put yourself in a position now coming off that Iowa victory to get into the NIT, and you've got to maintain that focus. And I think sometimes there's the potential to sort of lose that focus when you have a victory like you did against Iowa. Then you got to build it up again. You got to get back into it. And that's where I think Nebraska is right now. Can you get back into it? Can you be focused on Minnesota and not look at anything beyond that? Because if you can get it done against Minnesota, I think you got a good chance to get in that NIT.
Mike Babcock's with us here. It's Hail Varsity Radio. And Mike, do you think that's part of the reason why that Fred Hoiberg, whenever he gets up there and is talking with the media earlier this week, he doesn't want to talk about NCAA tournament. He doesn't want to talk about NIT because, I mean, you don't want to overlook this Minnesota team. That's the number one thing we're saying. They play everybody close this season, at least late in the year, and they're very, very talented. When you look at it talent-wise, Nebraska to Minnesota, I don't think these teams are very far apart. It's just that this Nebraska ball team has some belief, and they have some confidence heading into the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, I think they do, and it's not just Nebraska and Minnesota. I think there's just a lump of teams in the Big Ten that are very much similar, and I think that Nebraska found that out as the season went along. The Huskers played much better as they got down the stretch there, and fit into that mix. Came close to be in a position where they could have been 10-10 in the conference. So, a good Minnesota team. A good Nebraska team, a gritty Nebraska team, and let's see what happens tonight and move forward. And the good thing is, if you get in the NIT, Nebraska's ability to put people in the arena is a factor early on in that NIT. That's how they, that's part of the reason that they'd like to have Nebraska in there, I think, is because you're going to have some fans come to an NIT game if it's in Lincoln. So you have that potential as well. So there's just a lot on the line tonight, and I hope the Huskers are up to playing the way they can. And as we always talk, think about the guys that aren't playing. There's 3 guys there that you're not going to be able to have on the court. Think what that team would be, but you can't be thinking like that when you're on the court tonight.
Mike, you get to pick and grant Nebraska access to the NIT in a home game for the NIT. Do you take Villanova coming to town? Do you pick Tim Miles and San Jose State coming to town? Do you pick Utah and Craig Smith coming to town?
Well, I probably would pick Tim Miles. I think that would definitely raise the interest and fill the arena. But what I've seen, the projection is maybe Villanova is the likely first round. Maybe that's what we should say. Villanova in the first round, and then one game at a time, but move along, and Tim Miles in the second round. How about that?
Going to ask Coach Smith this. How do you think that would go over? I mean, Tim's not worried about it. He just got named Coach of the Year in the Mountain, which is awesome. How would he relish this? Would Fred like it, or is that something that neither guy's really interested in reliving?
I think it'd be a lot of more pressure on Fred than it would Tim. I think Tim would mind coming in here.
Tim would be buying Coors Lights across the street.
I think he would. He'd be out at Firethorn with the fellas and then come over here and coach a game. And Mike, how much, when we were long time ago when we were pretty good, we had some NIT appearances, and I think it was a good springboard into the NCAA. To all of you, how crucial is this that Nebraska gets in any postseason? I don't care if it's CIT, any postseason this year.
I'll go first. It is critical because they have flipped the script. There's belief, there's appreciation, there's, dare I say, some joy with basketball because this is, as Cousin Eddie would say, a real nice surprise based on what was supposed to be versus what is. So they get postseason. That's experience. And that's some validation that, of Fred getting it going in the right direction, first of all. Second of all, the kids you got to keep recruiting to stay here because in the portal era will stay because, A, they like Fred, and B, hey, we've won and we got to the postseason. Let's be a part of something that hasn't happened since the 2013 season, 2013-2014, and that's NCAA. Let's build that back up. Let's go there. So I think it's extremely important for Nebraska to do it. It's a great question. Babbers, what do you say?
I agree with you with one small thing. It's kind of a side thing to me, but it's the same thing in football, getting into a bowl game. It gives you a little more time to practice. You've got additional time. The season is extended, and I think every additional practice that you can have is a benefit to any team. And so I think that's important from that standpoint as well. But you gotta believe. So you've got to have an opportunity to get into a tournament so you can believe that it can be done, and then you can move on. And the aspiration for the NCAA is the next step. But that extra practice is always good, I think.
Mike Babcock's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Mike, let's switch gears here, talk some Husker baseball. Northern Colorado came to town, and the Husker Bats were also at Haymarket Park in force. As what was the number of home runs in the two-game series? I think we're up to 10. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but the Husker Bats had some power this weekend. They had some pop, and it ended up being 2 consecutive blowout wins against the Northern Colorado. Oh, I had to think about their name there. What's the mascot of Northern Colorado?
The Fighting Andersons.
Good.
The Bears.
The Bears.
Bears.
The Fighting Mike Andersons. The Fighting Garth Williams, the Fighting Andersons. Just pick a favorite and go with them that way.
Yeah, the Bears have been struggling this year. I mean, they gave up 32 runs in one of their games. The pitching has not been there. But, it's important for Nebraska. It gave them an opportunity. Like Evans hit 2 home runs a day. Evans hasn't played a whole lot, but you've got to, with Anglum now, some question about his availability. You've got to find some guys in the outfield, and I think Evans is one of those guys from Grand Island by way of Parkland College. 2 home runs a day, 5 for the team today, and was it 5 yesterday? So I think Nebraska has shown that it can hit the ball. It has the offense, and I think it's shown that it can play defense. The thing that you need to get squared away, I think, is at least a third starter that you feel comfortable with. And I know that Caleb Clark could be that person, but he's a freshman. He's still learning. He still needs an opportunity to develop, I think. I think you've got your first two starters pretty clear cut. But that's where it is the pitching. And we've seen the relief pitching look better than it did early on in the San Diego series. So that's the thing, I guess, is pitching for me. Coming away from this, I don't know what you can really tell from this series in terms of that. But you got some guys on the field. You got some guys on the mound. They had an opportunity to get in there and do some things. I think that was important in this series. And you'll have the same kind of series, I think, with Illinois State over the weekend if you're able to play.
Mike Babcock with us here on Hail Varsity. We're courtside. A PBA warm-up session going on, Millard North and Elkhorn South. Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith, Elijah Herbal, Dr. Brandon Seifert, Nebraska Orthopedic Center with us to give us a LeBron update here in just mere moments.
We also have a Jacob Padilla cameo just over your right shoulder.
Yeah, I see Jacob there.
Here's Jacob. You can wave, and Mike, you can just wave at the whole crew. Jacob's like, don't bother me. I'm in a huddle.
I got more important things to do than acknowledge you.
He's not hearing us at all because Maroon 5 is going nuts. So last thought here, Babbers, about a minute. We got to get out. Coach Rule, just your takeaway from Monday. What'd you think?
As I've said, I think after every availability that we've had here, I just think that from the standpoint of creating connections, I think it's important to him to create a connection to the media because I think that that's a way to connect to the fans. And I really think that he's going out of his way to have accessibility, and that accessibility is to connect with the fans, which I think is a priority for him. Obviously, most coaches it would be, but I think he's going all in on that kind of a thing. I was really impressed with the two players that he had there. I thought they were very articulate and represented the program well. So I just think that it connections, with the players as people as well as players. I think that's important, and I think he emphasizes that. And I believe it's not just a show. I think it's really happening.
And he did talk to the basketball team, so we'll see what his motivational talent is.
Yeah, the first wrong move is if they don't win tonight,
it's his fault,
jinxed them. Mike Babcock with us. Find Mike on Twitter at MDBabs on Twitter. Mike, thanks for jumping on with us in the shortened show today. Always love talking ball with you, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
There he is, Mike Babcock. Quick reminder to get buckled up, hands on the wheel, eyes and mind straight ahead. The driver, one job, that's to drive. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Dr. Brandon Seifert on the way with Nebraska Orthopedic next.
Businesses don't run on automation or algorithm alone. What powers businesses are your people and the people they serve. At Cintas, your dedicated service reps understand what you need to help you keep your employees feeling safe, comfortable, and performing their best. So your business can too. For workwear, essential cleaning products, first aid and safety supplies, fire protection services, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Having an estate plan ensures that your assets will go to the right beneficiaries. Join Roper & Sons for a free learning event on March 21st at 6 p.m. at our Midtown Chapel. Andrew Loudon, a trusts and estates attorney in Lincoln, will lead a discussion on common mistakes made in estate planning and answer questions. Dinner will be served. Don't miss this free opportunity. To register to attend, call Roper & Sons at 402-476-1225 or visit roperandsons.com.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Husker fans, this is Matt Davison with the 1890 Initiative. You've probably heard about NIL, name, image, and likeness. And now you can have an immediate impact on the success of our programs. The 1890 Initiative is Nebraska's premier NIL company. And with your help, we can maximize our student athletes' opportunities with NIL and prepare them for life after college. Nebraska has always been a leader in college athletics. Let's do the same with NIL. To learn more, visit 1890nebraska.com, where 100% of your donation goes directly to Husker student athletes. That's 1890nebraska.com.
Take the wheel and take control of your auto insurance premium with the Drive for Less program from Battle Creek Mutual Insurance. When you drive safe, all roads lead to a lower cost on your auto insurance. Simply track your driving habits with your Battle Creek mobile app, and you can save up to 30% on your premium just by driving
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. We're courtside. It's Hail Varsity Radio, a road show. Pinnacle Bank Arena, state basketball here. And he's done so much work as a trainer and, of course, doctor with Nebraska Orthopedic. Dr. Brandon Seifert with us. We've got him courtside as he is saying hi to the folks streaming back with the Hail Varsity YouTube channel and then Hail Varsity Radio Twitter. You see Elijah rocking flannel. This is wonderful. We need to get some of these. I love it. I love it. I love it. And let's talk about King James, not the book, character, about the Basketball Hall of Famer that broke Kareem's record. Been in a walking booth as a Dr. Brendan Seifert, how about Ron? I mean, that's February 26th. We're already into March, and it's now or never for the Lake Show.
Absolutely. So, the hard part about a lot of these injuries is trying to figure out exactly what they have going on. They've talked a lot about a ligament injury for him, some type of tendonitis / ligamentous sprain. Likely what this is a tenosynovitis, which is essentially an inflammation of one of the tendons, which, again, they're being a little cryptic about which of those it is. We can speculate a little bit on which one of those it would be. My suspicions would be probably something maybe like a plantar fasciitis, which is where that large fascial structure attaches to the bottom of the heel, pretty common, kind of that sharp stabbing pain in the bottom of the foot in the morning is what that sounds like or feels like. That would be an option, especially for all the jumping he does. Other things that could be in play here would be something like a peroneus brevis. That would be a tendon that comes on the back side of the ankle on the outside of the ball portion there called the malleolus and hooks into the bottom of that fifth metatarsal, which is that outside bony prominence in the foot. Those would be two pretty common areas we would see this. You could even have some bursitis kind of underneath that great toe, almost kind of like as opposed to a turf toe, even an inflammation of that area, not truly a turf toe, but more tendonitis of the area. So definitely a lot of areas this could be. Fortunately for him, they've kind of put him on that non-operative pathway, so we're thinking this is something that's not a super high-grade tear. It's just a matter of how long do we do comfort cares before we get him back on the court.
Well, Dr. Brandon, if you don't mind me jumping in here,
go for it.
I just look at the Lakers this year. They're currently sitting in 9th in the Western Conference. That's good for a play-in spot in the West, but I don't think any Laker fan is going to be happy being in a play-in spot in the Western Conference. That's just not how that team is built. So how big of an issue do you think this could be down the stretch of an NBA season? I think we're around 20 games left this year, and this isn't the time to be getting a lingering injury that could affect your playoff chances.
Yeah, that's a great question, Elijah. As you start to look at all the intangibles here, that's the things that people are talking about is what are you thinking here in terms of return to play? Do you push him hard through this to try to maybe bring yourself up out of that play-in spot? But in the process of doing so, you really kind of hurt yourself and take yourself out of probably a deeper playoff run, depending on how severe this is. I think they're playing the cards of, hey, we're in the playing spot. We're going to have him rest up. And as soon as he hits the court, we're thinking we've got a pretty good ball club, and he's going to be ready to go deep in the playoffs. I would assume that's probably their mindset at this point.
Let's talk about the rehab and the re-injury. If it's plantar fasciitis, I mean, that stuff is – man, it's temperamental. And I look at his age and his wear and tear. I mean, LeBron's still I don't know. He's still a Mercedes, but he's 100,000 miles Mercedes. He's got the mileage on him. He's got the age, but he's still incredible. Let's ballpark the re-injury, the load management. That's a dirty word to a lot of basketball fans, but it's a reality for a 38-year-old. And tell me what they're doing right now. Are they doing some ultrasound? Are they just doing some ice and heat? I mean, how do you fix plantar fasciitis?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously this piece is huge. So some type of mobilization. I think he's been in that walking boot now for about 2 or 3 weeks. So that's one portion of the mobilization. But as in addition to that, you want to make sure that you're not allowing those joints to become stiff. And so they're going to be doing a lot of stretching. The joint emotionally part of this. And then, of course, as you mentioned, there's a lot of modalities they could throw at this, whether it be ultrasound. There's a thing called iontophoresis we've talked about for ultrasounding and some steroid cream. He's even what you think of some fancy stuff with, like some stem cell injections. Talked about even maybe utilizing some ERP. We've talked about that before, drawing somebody's blood out, spinning it down in a centrifuge, and taking those top layers off that have those really great healing factors, platelet-derived growth factor being one of those. And so those are some things they're probably talking about with him. The biggest thing, though, is just rest and stretch to let this thing calm down, reaching a point where you can get some miles out of them. You bring up a good point, though, just on how do you manage these, older athletes that are still fantastic? How do you manage them? That's really an interesting question. We're seeing a lot more of that. I mean, you look at a guy like a Tom Brady or even a Drew Brees and the longevity of their careers, and so trying to manage that is tough. And it doesn't make necessarily the front office or the fans very happy, but the reality is you have to protect your investment. And so from a sports medicine perspective, I'm sure that's a big part of their decision process at this point.
Well, and guys, the league is like, LeBron, we need you in the playoffs. We need the Lakers, the number 2 TV market in the world, in the playoffs, right? There's going to be no New York. Elijah helped me out. Is Brooklyn anything? I mean, they were so, but I know they've, sold the farm, so to speak, with all their trades and whatnot.
They're currently
you're not sad.
The Nets are currently sitting in the 6th seed in the East.
That's what I thought. So you got your New York representation with Brooklyn. Are the Knicks in any?
Knicks are doing better than the Nets. They're in the 5th spot in the East. So
well, there we go. So New York City, you need your New York, LA, and you still got Boston. I get it.
Well,
you're a Denver fan, Elijah, so you may not want to see LeBron back.
Oh no, I'd be happy if LeBron was out for the year. The thing with the East is it's so top loaded that the Nets and the Knicks really don't stand a chance if you're not in those top 3 or 4 seeds. Like,
sure.
What's the point if you're in the Eastern Conference? The Bucks, the Celtics, and the 76ers are all that good this year. But you look at the West and the Lakers. I mean, you can see them making a run. The top of the West is also fine, but I mean, the Kings are currently in 2nd, and the Grizzlies, who knows what the situation is with Ja Morant. The Sacramento Kings are in 2nd in the West. Isn't
There's no Vlade Divac with his Marlboro or no Chris Webber.
But Dr. Brandon, whenever you're looking at LeBron
there, I love Vlade.
I mean, you look at the investment in older athlete. Is there any way to protect LeBron once he's back on the court? If you're the Lakers and that Lakers front office, is there anything that can be done for pain management and keeping him healthy once he does get back on the court a little later in the year?
Yeah, you think about pain management is going to be a part of this. We talked about some of those injections. One of the things you'd want to avoid in this scenario would be doing a lot of
injections for pain, such as the lidocaine, Marcaine type shots. Not a great thing to do in the tendon area. Same thing with utilizing like steroids in the area. You really worry about that with somebody his age and the wear on his tendons. That could be kind of recipe for rupture. So pain management with some obviously anti-inflammatory creams, anti-inflammatory pills in general would be where you want to kind of keep this.
Dr. Brandon Seifert with us, Nebraska Orthopedic Center. He's courtside with us, a live Jock Doc here at PBA as we get ready for the night session here. Millard North and Elkhorn South. Old Noonan firing from 3. Shortly here with the Storm. The Mustangs going for a three-peat. Dr. Brandon, this was awesome, man. Thanks for sneaking in.
Courtside. You bet,
this
guys.
was good. Appreciate
Thanks,
you for
Elijah.
coming in.
Appreciate it.
All right, good to see Elijah Herbal counting us down. Good to see Dr. Brandon Seifert. A quick timeout. We'll wind down a impromptu Hail Varsity. We're presented by Currency.
Have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now, and you'll see how easy it is to protect yourself with precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
March is full of basketball action, and the best place to catch all the games or stop in for a TO is Rosie's downtown at 10th and P. Just blocks from PBA, tons of TVs, great food and drink specials. It's a slam dunk. Join me, Chris Schmidt, for Hale Varsity Radio as we broadcast live from Rosie's during state basketball. We'll have highlights and score updates, keep you up to speed. Hale Varsity Radio at Rosie's downtown 10th and P for state basketball action and fanfare.
Hi, this is Dave with Dave's Heating and Air. At Dave's, we are experts on Bryant systems. If you went to a cold house, if you come home to a cold house, just call Dave's Heating and Air. We'll rescue and help you back no after-hour fees. Your card is already always.
If you need service 24/7 or are thinking about replacing your heating system for this winter with a new energy-efficient Bryant system, get a hold of Dave at justcalldaves.com. Dave's Heating and Air, doing whatever it takes.
If you have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now, and you'll see how easy it is to protect yourself with precious metals. Call 800.
And now, back to Hale Varsity Radio.
One final time here at PBA courtside at Hale Varsity Radio, a slimmed down version as Elkhorn South out for warm-ups, Millard North ready to go. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, the Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith. We're back here on KFOR 7:35, 7:40-ish for the nightcap with Lincoln Southeast and Gretna tonight. Right now you have Ohio State whacking Wisconsin at 16-7. Jimmy Boeheim, of course, bounced out, and as he put it, it's up to the university. Well, they said happy retirement, Jimbo. And after 47 years, Nebraska favored by 6 tonight against Minnesota. And you are excited about high school hoops tonight and, of course, Southeast tonight.
I also wanted to say quick RIP Andre Smith. He was a really good player for Nebraska, late 70s, I believe, early 80s. And I played some summer league games against him and stuff. Big, quiet guy that
awesome ball
was
player.
A really solid basketball
Honorable mention
player.
All-American.
Yep, and all Big 8. And so too young to be passing away, darn it. But
that is too bad.
For Nebraska Basketball Nation, we want to say RIP Andre, and thank you for all you did.
Needs to be up here with
it really does. It really could.
Yeah. And the Hoppins,
thanks for all he did.
The Lances and the Ludes.
Yeah, he was a good post, and that was back when we threw it inside a lot, and he could do a lot with it, and he was a good defender. And I'll never forget, he was the one that waved bye-bye to the ball after he made a free throw. He would hold his follow-through and wave bye-bye to the ball. So Andre Smith, RIP.
That is so good.
Yeah.
We have to rise here, Elijah, for the national anthem, so I'll let you do a quick scoreboard here, bud. And we'll step away here for a moment here as Hail Varsity Radio live here at PBA. But we are going to pause for the national anthem here on KFOR.
Well, this is the beauty of live radio here. I wasn't expecting to have to fill this portion of the segment. We only have about 2 minutes left in the show, and as they get the national anthem, just a quick reminder, this condensed show will be available in podcast form shortly following our conclusion here in about 2 minutes. I'll work hard to get that posted up on all the major podcast platforms. That includes Spotify, Google Play, Amazon and Music, and Apple Podcasts as well. You can also catch this full show on YouTube. We'll cut out the commercial breaks for you, and you can catch that on YouTube, the full about 40 minutes that we went here this hour. We talked Husker basketball as they take on Minnesota tonight. We talked Husker baseball. Mike Babcock joined us to talk both of those segments. We also had a Jock Doc segment with Dr. Brandon Seifert as Schmitty and the coach Jeff Smith down at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to have Evan Bland on the show. We rescheduled him from his usual Wednesday spot, so we're going to talk some Husker baseball tomorrow with Evan. We'll also get an appearance with Gary Barnett, longtime coach Colorado and Northwestern, as he joins us for his usual Thursday spot. And we'll also have Brandon Vogel joining us tomorrow. 4:25 is whenever we'll talk to Vogues, as we can't wait for that Thursday action. Again, your reminder tonight, locally here on KFOR, we'll have Lincoln Southeast and Gretna. That one should be a good one coming your way at about 7:45. And until then, I have to fight the battle with Taco Bell. I'm hungry. I have some nuts here in the studio. The Taco Bell doesn't fit my diet, but having a little layoff here between things, I'm going to have to fight that urge. You'll get me some spicy potato soft tacos.
We are going to go crush pizza here in a moment. We'll be back at 7:45 for Gretna and Southeast here, high school basketball coverage on KFOR, KFORnow.com. The Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. And should be an awesome time for basketball. Nebraska in action tonight. Rosie's. We want to see you down at Rosie's. Come on down for the state tournament all weekend. Enjoy it. We're at Rosie's, 10th and P tomorrow, 4 to 6. Also Friday, 4 to 6. Another road show. Coach Smith, thanks again.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, brother. We'll be back here closer to 8 with state Class A basketball on KFOR.